Hi guys, welcome to my channel Lush Gardener. I hope you guys are fine and are safe. So in today's video I'm going to be talking about another very beautiful Echeveria that can be very easy with beginners, especially if you are from a place which is very dry and cooler. It is going to work out really well. But for people who are from a very warm and humid environment, you will have to give a little bit extra care, especially during the summers. But overall it's quite easy to grow succulent, just like any other Echeveria. Now this is called as Echeveria Zaragoza, but there are a lot of varieties, a lot of hybrids in the name under the name of Zaragoza, but I'm not very sure if this is an hybrid. Now overall the succulent is absolutely beautiful. As you can see, it has this beautiful symmetrical leaves, but the highlight of this succulent is the tips of this succulent. Now they are not getting picked up that well on this and the colors are also not very visible, but I'll try to focus as much as I can on the tips. So you can see now these are still very small. This is still a very young plant, so the tips are not very long, but as and when the succulent starts to grow, the tips are the ones that tend to grow even more pointy, and that increases the beauty of the succulent. But right now the succulent is still very small and the tips are not very well colored, but as and when the winters are going to come up, as you can see over here, the tips look absolutely beautiful. Now the tips are very beautiful, but they are also very delicate, so if you are going to expose them to afternoon direct sunlight, the tips will get burnt, so you have to be extremely careful. Now this succulent is kept in morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours after I acclimated it, so it's starting to do quite well. Initially it was a little stretched when I initially got it, but over the period of time it has started to pick up, and now it has become very compact and it looks absolutely beautiful. The care requirements remains the same. It is an easy succulents provided you have the basic care requirements, which is the soil has to be loose, porous and well draining. Ensure that the soil is lean in nutrients. You do not want to add a lot of organic matter, especially now during winters, because it's a genus of Echeveria. It is going to go dormant, so you do not want to pack it up with lot of nutrients, otherwise that is going to damage the succulent. Watering is when the soil is completely bone dry. Typical Echeveria requirement, the soil has to be completely bone dry before you go ahead and water it, and once the soil is completely bone dry, do a complete watering until the water starts passing through the drain hole. Now mealybugs are not much of an issue, but it's always better to check once in 2 weeks or once in 3 weeks. If you tend to see any mealybugs, you can go by sprinkling some dry cinnamon powder on the soil. Now what I have noticed is a lot of succulents that get a good amount of morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours have a very less chance of getting affected with mealybugs. Now this is just from my experience, or it's because of the soil mix that I tend to use, because my soil mix is not very high in organic matter, so that is probably one of the reason why a lot of my succulents do not get affected with mealybugs. What I have noticed is the succulents that don't do quite well in my place, usually after transit, the succulents that are slightly weak are the ones that do get affected with pests, but the ones that are very healthy, I haven't seen them getting attacked with any mealybug. So I think the whole point is to keep your succulent strong, and that is going to reduce the risk of your succulent getting affected with mealybugs. Talking about sunlight, of course, as I said, it's an Echeveria. It doesn't get a lot of colors, like a lot of intense colors, but it does get a little bit of color, and the tips tend to turn really red in color. So the more you're going to give direct morning sunlight, the more color is going to appear on the tips. Propagation is pretty simple. You can do a leaf propagation, or you can wait for the offsets to appear. Once the offsets have reached a decent size, you can separate them from the mother plant. Stem cutting is not going to be possible because the succulent is very compact and it is very close to the ground. Unless your succulent is stretching, you will not be able to see the stem. So guys, it's a fairly easy to grow succulent, especially for people who have a dry and cooler environment. You can definitely grow this succulent with ease. But for people who have a very high humidity, probably you might have a lot of challenges. So you have to ensure that you overcome the challenges. Now those challenges can be easily overcome by having a very gritty soil mix that tends to dry faster. Go for a concrete clay pot or an earthen pot or an unglazed clay pot. You basically need to have a pot or a arrangement wherein the soil does not stay moist for a longer period of time. So having a very gritty soil, having a pot that is porous and that tends to absorb excess moisture from the pot, excess moisture from the soil, I think these kind of factors is going to work out really well in growing healthy succulents. But again, if you are from a warm and humid environment, you have to be extra careful. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe and keep planting.